I will knock the head off your shoulders. Boy, I will knock the head straight off your shoulders. He meant business. That's a serious threat. And of all places, where was it at? In prison. That means you gotta follow through with those type of threats. This just wasn't any dude. This dude was 6'5", cock diesel. And not only is he known for violence, but he wasn't just talking to anybody. He was speaking and talking and threatening and looking directly at the police.
All right, good afternoon. This is State of Florida versus Stephen Testa with multiple cases before the court.
Yo, what's poppin', man? It's your boy E.I. the King, and this is the Incarceration podcast, where I talk about prison, pre, post, and present, and how everything that I experienced throughout my incarceration has forever changed my life. This is the Incarceration. Forever Convict family, we are on the journey to 50,000 subs. 50,000 subs. Right now we're at 17,000, almost at 18. So listen, man, y'all have been blowing this channel up. I greatly appreciate it. So right now we're on the mission to 50,000 subscribers. If you have not subscribed and you enjoy prison content, go ahead and subscribe. Or if you know other people who also are interested and like hearing about prison content, go ahead and share this channel with them. Go ahead and put your experiences. If you've been in county jail, if you've been in prison, if you've been in any state facility, if you've been incarcerated at all, go ahead and put your stories in the comments. We'll talk about it. Anything that I haven't mentioned, go ahead and let me know and we'll talk about it. All prison related content. So in prison, as I've mentioned before, there's this drug and it's called TWACK. Some people know it as K2 or Spice, but what it is, it's synthetic marijuana. And I think it first started jumping like in the early 2000s, whenever people who were on probation, they couldn't smoke weed without violating because of dirty urine. They came up with this, legal drug that was synthetic marijuana. And when they first brought it out, it was sold like in all corner stores, gas stations, smoke shops, and things like that. But over time, not only did it get made illegal, especially in the state of Florida, but it got more potent and potent as the years and as time went on. And it also found its way, just like every other drug, in the chain gang, in the prison system. But by the time it hit the prison system, it hit the prison system just like it did on the street. It wasn't that strong at first. It was just like a light high. But over the years, as people began to figure out, that this stuff isn't healthy for you, and I don't know what type of chemicals or what type of concoctions that is made with, but the stuff going into the prison system, not only here now today, but especially as well in society, man, this stuff is like the new age crack. And that's why it's called TWACK, because it paralyzes people's bodies. They be doing all type of like exorcism, convulsions, screaming, foaming out the mouth, throwing up, literally people dying left and right in the prison system and in society behind this drug. And a lot of people are just throwing up and choking on the throw up and, choking and dying. So when the prison system is rampant, it's called TWACK. I've already talked about that in depthly in previous episodes. I believe the episode is specifically called TWACK, is episode 1, and there's a part 2 of that episode. So y'all go back in the playlist, and if you want to hear and know more about it, go back and check it out. But I just want to go ahead and lay the groundwork of this episode. Obviously, as you already know, in the chain gang, the new age crack and the main drug that's popping is called TWACK. All right, so this is Guy, and for the sake of his privacy and not to put him on blast, I'm gonna go ahead and nickname him Big Man. So Big Man was like 6'5", 6'6", cock diesel, easily probably like 320, Like this dude was, this shredded muscle. He wasn't a fat boy, he wasn't thick. This dude was like cock diesel, Terminator type dude. And this dude also has a big name in the street where he's from. He was a big time dope boy, he was a jack boy, and he had a very well-known name in his city. He was a somebody. But this dude, man, he also he's a very humble guy, but his past, and if it came down to it, he could get very violent. And I'm sure, as you can already just imagine with his size, man, this dude's knocking everything out. The dude is a straight animal. Well, Big Man, not only was he a dope boy on the street, but when he came to prison, and which is kind of surprising to some, but for those of you who have done time, just because you're a big dope boy on the street, it doesn't mean that that's what you're going to translate and you're going to be in prison as well. Now, most of the times it is. What you are in society is what you're going to be in a chain gang. But Big Man, you know, he kind of turned into a junkie whenever he went up the road when he went to prison. And that's one thing about TWACK, man. It's kind of more like socially acceptable in the chain gang, just because, you know, the status quo of, you know, living is obviously, you know, a lot lower than it is in society. But you see, like, just like your average dope boys or hustlers or people like on the street who may smoke loud or, you know, drink or party or hang out or whatever, you know, they go to prison. And because, like, just like I mentioned before, there's every drug in every prison, it's flooded everywhere, depends what state and what prison you're at. But if it's on the street, it's in prison as well. But TWACK, you know, even though some people can look at it like, okay, that's a junkie move, you know, people who smoke that, but it is common to see a lot of dope boys or even guys who gangbang or whatever, you know, kind of like strung out on that TWACK. So that's how Big Man was. You know what I mean? He wasn't just a casual smoker, you know, he was kind of junkie stunned. He would go through his phases, you know, sometimes he would be sober, but a lot of times he would be in his junked out phase. And I knew this because I did years with him in the dorm. And this is a story about how Big Man went crazy on the police and had them boys terrified. He had them shook. So as I mentioned about Big Man, like, not only did he have a drug problem, but he also didn't mind associating himself with the junkies that were around him. A lot of times, just like in society, in prison, you know, what's the saying? Birds of a feather flock together. So a lot of the junkies, they'll hang out because, you know, they're always finessing and manipulating each other and stealing from each other. There's been time and time again where I've seen countless fights and conflicts behind two guys or a couple guys who smoke together, and one guy will be all twacked out and slumped over while his homie's trying to steal his dope. You know, so that happens all the time. And, you know, sometimes they're cool with each other and they smoke together and they, you know, they put in together, and sometimes they're stealing from each other and fighting each other. Well, Big Man, you know, he hung out with the junkies because during this period of time, he was really junked out. And he wasn't just smoking any type of dope. As I mentioned before in a previous episode, on the pound that was flooded at this time, this dope was called that black. And the reason why it was called black was because it was literally pitch black. Once again, man, this stuff is straight chemical, it's poison. I don't know what it is, but this stuff was literally killing people on the prison compound left and right. People are dropping. I remember, no exaggeration, 8 people died in 1 month. 8 people died at this prison in 1 month behind this bad batch of dope, which was called that black. And the crazy thing about it, all the junkies, like, they wanted that. They knew it was killing people. They knew people were dying, but it made them want that dope that much more because it was that potent. So this is what's flooded on the pound during this time, and this is what Big Man's smoking during this one.